Welcome to the Oracle GoldenGate YouTube video series. Oracle GoldenGate is the industry's premier multi-cloud technology for building real-time data fabrics, data mesh, and data replication solutions. With class-leading, high-throughput, and extremely low-latency streaming data, Oracle GoldenGate is in a league of its own. Thousands of customers in over 180 countries globally trust GoldenGate with their most important data, and GoldenGate is consistently rated as a top leader for data integration and enterprise data fabrics. One key reason that GoldenGate is one of the most successful integration tools in history is the consistent innovation over more than 20 years. GoldenGate has notched many industry firsts for modern event-driven streaming data solutions. Oracle GoldenGate is first and foremost known for its data event capabilities, including long-time leadership for data high availability, transaction replication, and change data capture. More recently, since 2015, the most successful areas of GoldenGate have been in the areas of data pipelines and stream analytics. Modern technology solutions demand real-time data ingestion, streaming ETL for low latencies, and best-of-breed analytics on data in motion. GoldenGate delivers modern time series analysis in a no-code development package with enterprise-class data governance, including best-in-class data security, data verification, and a rich metadata catalog. Another reason that GoldenGate is so successful is that it is truly a tool for all enterprises, supporting a huge variety of common databases, applications, NoSQL data stores, clouds, and messaging systems in a powerful low-latency data fabric. GoldenGate's modern microservices architecture is the foundation of real-time data events for the event-driven business. With an easy-to-use browser-based user interface and available cloud services for just pennies per hour, there's nothing stopping you from realizing the future today. Try GoldenGate for free. Follow this link for more information. And now, onwards to the video you came for.
Hi everyone, welcome to the presentation for the GoldenGate Microservice Architecture Introduction. My name is Warner He. I am the product manager for Oracle GoldenGate. And today I'm going to share with you the new microservice architecture for GoldenGate. Before I go to the detail, I want to share with you some news on what we have released so far on the microservice architecture. So we released GoldenGate version 21.3, and this version covers all the major GoldenGate builds, including GoldenGate for Oracle Database, GoldenGate for DB2, ZOS, MySQL, PostgreSQL, SQL Server, and most importantly, the GoldenGate for Big Data. So we are going to be basing today's presentation on the version 21.3 to introduce the microservice architecture. So here is today's agenda. I'm going to cover 6 sections of this presentation. The first part is the brief introduction of GoldenGate platform, because some of the audience here probably are not quite familiar with GoldenGate, so I want to give everyone a summary and overview of what GoldenGate is. And the next section, we're going to cover why we are going to release the microservice architecture, what's the benefit of that. And the next section will be introduce the web UI for the microservice architecture, which is an important feature we put in there, and it will be liked by the new generations GoldenGate admins. And we are also going to cover the distribution path. Basically, it is a way to send the GoldenGate data between different GoldenGate deployments, almost like a bridges between the different GoldenGate. And then we are going to review the admin client and REST API. This is the feature will be more for these old timers who are not interested in the web UI, but they are more interested in the command line interface for the GoldenGate. The last part I'm going to cover is the Docker implementation, which is pretty popular nowadays. How you can build GoldenGate Docker image, how you can start GoldenGate container. As a matter of fact, the GoldenGate OCI cloud implementation is actually built purely on top of the GoldenGate Docker implementation. So that's the high-level overview of today's agenda. So let's come to our first GoldenGate topic, the introduction for GoldenGate. I want to give you a little bit history of how GoldenGate evolves to today. So let's fast backward to the 1990s. That's when GoldenGate first came into the market. GoldenGate is first developed on a platform called Tandem. Today, this brand name probably is not very familiar with everyone. As a matter of fact, Tandem has been acquired by Compaq, and Compaq has been acquired by HP. So in today's market, the Tandem is known as HP Nonstop Server. But back in 1990s, Tandem is very popular in the mission critical industry. So a lot of financial industry and government agencies are using Tandem to handle their mission critical data. GoldenGate was born at that time to help the customer to replicate the data in real time on Tandem, so it can provide a HADR solution for the Tandem customers. And as Tandem system is very fault tolerant or oriented in design, GoldenGate actually has inherited a lot of fault-tolerant programming style, including the non-stop pair, the checkpoint between the processes, and to keep all the threads updated and to make sure there's no duplicate data, there's no missing data. So all this are actually started from the Tandem gene, has been built in the product back in the 1990s. That's why today, when you look at the GoldenGate, you still see a lot of familiar behaviors on the checkpointing, on the data integrity guarantee. Those are all coming from all the old early days. Back into 2000, the Tandem customers start to explore the capability of sending the OLTP transaction to a less expensive platform, because the fault tolerance feature of Tandem really makes it very expensive on both hardware and the software. So the customer always try to look for the cost-saving solutions. So they tend to replicate the data from Tandem in real time into a cheaper data warehouse solution. That is where GoldenGate starts to roll out a new feature of sending data from the Tandem platform to the open system, we'll call it, which is like Oracle, SQL Server, DB2, Sybase, those systems running either on Windows or Unix or Linux. And so that is where the OLTP replication feature get added to GoldenGate. And then back into 2009, Oracle comes to acquire the GoldenGate. And at that time, the data warehouse is a very popular concept. And the customers start to populating their data warehouse with the transactional data in real time. So GoldenGate started to introduce the data warehouse real-time replication concept, and to make sure the data can flow heterogeneously, not only on from Tandem to other system, but also between any system we supported. So at that time, Oracle, SQL Server, Sybase all become a source. You can capture data from there and then send it to any platform we supported. And back in 2015, the cloud and the data lake concept have been introduced to the market, and the GoldenGate is used to replicate the data and send the real-time transaction data to the cloud and the data lake on this big data platform. And this is also when the Oracle started to invest a lot on GoldenGate to add more platform support. And recently, there is a new member has been added to GoldenGate family, which is the Oracle Streaming Analytic. And the GoldenGate acquired this tool, and now we can also provide a real-time data streaming analytic to all the customers. So that is how GoldenGate evolves from very early days, a replication software running only on Tandem, to today, we're a heterogeneous real-time replication plus streaming analytic platform under Oracle. Now let's take a look at all this platform GoldenGate support. If you look at this chart on the left side, it's all the source platform we supported. Of course, we started from very basic on the top left. Those are all the relational database like Oracle, MySQL, DB2. Those are the basis we started build a product back in the 1990, 2000. And then we started to add a lot of the other platform like JMS, like the Oracle applications. Majority of Oracle applications are running on Oracle database. So right now, all these Oracle applications running on the cloud, you are able to, using GoldenGate, to extract the data from those database in real time and send it to anywhere you want. And then on the right side, we can see GoldenGate support as a target from the DBMS to the cloud platform and all the big data, which covers Kafka, the Apache's popular platform, and also Hadoop. And also we added the NoSQL support as well, like MongoDB. And recently we also added support for the Oracle Stream Analytic. So GoldenGate can send the real-time transaction chains in the streaming fashion into the GoldenGate Stream Analytic, so it can do the real-time data analysis. The most popular GoldenGate implementation in the network topology-wise is on the database. So if you look at this chart, the implementation is very straightforward. It can be one-to-one, active-active, or one-to-many, many-to-one, or peer-to-peer. Or you can simply use GoldenGate as the data distributor to distribution the transaction data to other platforms. So those are based on the RDBMS. And on top of that, we added more implementation model like data lake ingestion and the stream ingestion, cloud ingestion, and SaaS replication, et cetera, et cetera. And today, with the stream analytic available, we can actually do the real-time data transformation, real-time data pipelines, and the geofencing, and the time series analysis. Plus, we can actually integrate with the predictive analytics for all the models you pre-created. We can import that into the stream analytic and using the pre-built model to do the data analysis. With the more than 25 years in the market, GoldenGate is trusted by a lot of big customers. We now have more than 8,000 customers in more than 180 countries. And the customers spread to multiple industry sections, from the communications to the finance, media, retail. And you see this chart of the logo. You will see all these, the Fortune 100 companies in there. 90% of the global payment industry are actually using GoldenGate to replicate the data. So they really trust GoldenGate because GoldenGate is built to guarantee there's no data loss. And also GoldenGate is built to be running very consistently and to deal with all the exceptions handlings. Plus, because of all these big customers, we are investing on GoldenGate every day to try to beef up the performance. And there's a lot of big performance numbers we achieved on Oracle database. And also on the non-Oracle, we are working with the customer as well to satisfy their requirement to handle the big transaction data. So you can see we can easily achieve 4 terabytes redo log per hour reading speed on the Oracle redo log processing. And we achieved a 1.5 terabyte redo log per hour at single table And on non-Oracle database, we have been able to achieve 4 billion transactions per day on the DB2 active replication on the Fortune 200 retailer. In the Asia Pacific, we have a mega bank, and we can achieve 55,000 transactions per second on mainframe. So those are all the numbers showing you GoldenGate is really not only a reliable real-time data replication platform, it can also handle large transaction volume as well. So that concluded the introduction for the GoldenGate platform. And now we're going to come into the section on why we are trying to push the microservice architectures. So talking about microservice architectures, so here are the major code changes we introduced. The first one is improved command line interface. We replaced the old GGSCI with the GoldenGate Admin client. And this Admin client is made like a SQL Plus client. You can run the Admin client at anywhere and to remotely connect to any GoldenGate deployment. And it's actually secured because it has its own user ID and password authentication system. So it's not like the old GGSCI. As long as you can gain the access to the operating system, you can gain access to GoldenGate. Not that anymore. So GoldenGate has its own authentication system. And it's locally authenticated, which means for different GoldenGate deployments, they have their own user ID and password. So it's independent, which with each different GoldenGate deployment. Of course, we introduced a very beautiful web user interface. This is actually a complaining point in the past for the older GoldenGate, because older GoldenGate always only have the command interface. It does not have any web UI interface. And then now with the microservices, we do introduce the web UI interface to help the new user to intuitively configure, to monitor GoldenGate. And you can do everything, all the tasks in the web UI interface. It also reduced the learning curve, right? So you don't have to remember all the commands because the web UI interface basically will guide you through on each step. In the same time, we also enhanced the GoldenGate, added the REST API support. So for those experienced users, they can actually write the REST API and to put that into script to fully automate their GoldenGate configuration and the GoldenGate monitoring. And the web UI interface is also built to use API. So which means anything you can do on the web UI interface, you can actually do that in the REST API, just in the simple script. And this can be integrated to almost any popular platform or tools like the Linux script or SQL Plus or Java or Python. Talk about all these features we added to microservice architecture. I want you to see how these features are actually being built through all those different modules. So this is how GoldenGate microservices are architecture-wise, how they are built up. We have a service manager act as the main component to monitor all the GoldenGate deployments. So typically on each machine, you have one GoldenGate service manager. And underneath this service manager, you can have multiple GoldenGate deployments. And each GoldenGate deployments will have 4 major services running underneath that. There's a GoldenGate admin server, there's a GoldenGate distribution service, GoldenGate matrix and a performance service, and a receiver service. The admin service is the most important one. It actually manages all the GoldenGate key components, such as extract and replicate. It manages all the database login alias in the credential store. The GoldenGate distribution service and the GoldenGate receiver service are a pair to be used to send the GoldenGate trail files from one GoldenGate deployment to another. So on your source GoldenGate deployment, you always run the GoldenGate distribution service to create a distribution path and send it out to the GoldenGate receiver server running in your GoldenGate target deployment. So these two services can talk to each other, and then we support the SSL encryption. So you can send the data basically from the distribution service to receiver service using the SSL. The GoldenGate monitor and the matrix service will monitor all the key GoldenGate component, and it shows all the threads process status and the cache status. It's shown everything in a graphic user interface to help the customer to monitor the GoldenGate in real time. So this is how the GoldenGate microservices are built up with all the different services. And then on top of that, you can also run a reverse proxy service like Nginx. The benefit of running Nginx is you do not have to expose all the ports for the local services. And instead, Nginx will just open one port and then will handle all these other service communications to pass the right request, right service internally. So this will just further protect and secure your GoldenGate deployment. And all this can be called and accessed from the GoldenGate admin client or REST API or from the web user interface to access all these services. And also for the GoldenGate implementation, you can implement multiple GoldenGates on multiple instances, which we call a mesh implementation. Basically, this is very useful when you try to put GoldenGate on multi-cloud, multi-data center architecture. So each cloud or each data center can have a set of GoldenGate installed, and between those GoldenGates, you can have the trail file be passed between them through the SSL. And so those traffic can go not only on a dedicated connection, can also go through internet as well. So this is almost like a mesh network. So you have GoldenGate on each different node, and then they can talk to each other. Or you can have GoldenGate on the, which we call a hub configuration. So you install GoldenGate on one server, and then you have remote connect to the source database, remote connect to target database to perform the remote capture and remote delivery. This configuration allows you to manage GoldenGate centralized in one place, but it requires a high network bandwidth and a low latency on the network because it uses the remote capture and the remote delivery. Especially on the remote delivery part, the network latency is very critical. We recommend you to have anywhere lower than 5 milliseconds to achieve the better performance for the remote delivery. Now we want to review the benefit of using the GoldenGate microservices. So for the GoldenGate microservices, the most important feature is the security. It is more secure, and especially for the cloud and the distributed architectures. As I mentioned, the GoldenGate introduced this distribution path concept, allow you to use SSL to encrypt the trail file while they are transferring that across network. So all the communication for the GoldenGate, for example, the distribution path, you can use WSS, the WebSocket, secured service, and then for the web UI interface, you can try to use HTTPS, which is also SSL-enabled connection to access the web UI. The GoldenGate itself also have the user ID and password. So when you create the distribution path, you can also require it provide the user ID and the password to log into the target. So to authenticate this is the right user to connect to target before the target will receive the data. And we also integrated with Oracle Key Vault to store the encryption keys in a separate server. So you don't have to store the GoldenGate Trail encryption key on the particular server GoldenGate is running. We also have improved the architecture performance upgrade and the patching mode for the GoldenGate deployment because we separated the GoldenGate deployment out from the GoldenGate binaries. Right? So that means we can actually upgrade the GoldenGate binaries without affecting the deployment directory. The deployment directory is always the same. And then once the binary is upgraded, you just need to bounce the GoldenGate to take in the GoldenGate new binary. So this will make the GoldenGate patching and upgrade much, much easier. We also have replaced the extract pump with the distribution path, which is a multi-threaded distribution service. So this gives customer better performance when they try to send large data, and they can fully utilize the network bandwidth. We also designed for use for the mesh and the hub and the remote configurations. We have a special MAA design, how the white paper, how you can configure GoldenGate following the Oracle's MAA recommendation. And also because we separated the deployment with the binary, you can actually move the deployment from one server to another. And you can run deployment also in Docker, in Kubernetes, and directly on the DB servers. So those are all the flexibility you have when you try to use the GoldenGate microservices. And also continue on all the benefit. We are having the same matured core functions as the classic GoldenGate because the extract replica component that we're using in the microservices are exactly the same as the classic architecture. We also support for multi-platforms, as I announced earlier in the beginning of this slide. We are pushing all the non-Oracle database build to use the microservices as well. So those are the future of the GoldenGate trend. So which means we, in the future, we will only support a microservices architecture. Of course, we do support the mixed environment when they try to exchange the data between the classic architecture and the microservice architecture. We do also support that, make the backward compatible, which I'm going to cover in the next slides on how to exchange data. There will be next couple slides after that. The last slide I'm going to talk about on the microservice features is the REST API. Because the REST API is very popular nowadays in the DevOps operational mode because it can allow the machine to automatically manage a certain platform, certain application. With the REST API, basically it's a machine manage another machine. So that's why GoldenGate added the REST API support, so you can use that to almost go through any GoldenGate major function calls. Basically, you can make all the calls from anywhere as long as you have the network access to the GoldenGate deployment. It can integrate with the Oracle Classware and also integrate with Oracle's ACFS, DBFS for disaster recovery, and it supports across the board, Oracle, non-Oracle, and GoldenGate for big data. With so many features added, we are aggressively rolling out to the customer. And one of the big customers is taking advantage of GoldenGate microservice architecture is Wells Fargo. And Wells Fargo is using GoldenGate to achieve a lot of business use cases. For example, the high availability and the real-time replication and the data synchronization between the core operational applications and also the real-time data warehouse data feeding are all done by GoldenGate. So in the past, 10 to 15 years, Wells Fargo has used a lot of different GoldenGate products, starting from HP Nonstop to the GoldenGate on Oracle, and they even use GoldenGate to help them to migrate off the HP Nonstop and to the Oracle Exadata, using the GoldenGate to achieve the minimum downtime migration strategy. So with the time going, they have more and more GoldenGate installed in their entire network. So it becomes more difficult to manage all this classic architecture GoldenGate. So after they studied the GoldenGate microservices, they actually really like the concept of to manage the GoldenGate from one central point. So they actually consolidated 1,500 GoldenGate classic installation homes down to 250 microservices installation, and totally consolidate that, and then that provide them a very nice web UI interface to monitor, to configure GoldenGate from anywhere, and also provide them the REST API to allow them to automate the GoldenGate configurations and management. So this is just a real customer example of how they are taking the advantage of a GoldenGate microservices to consolidate all their GoldenGate installations. So the next section I'm going to cover is the most important, the web UI. Like I mentioned earlier, web UI is mainly there for the new generation, because nowadays the new system admins, they do not have a lot of time to read the menu, right, and to memorize all the different commands. Have a web UI is really very important for them to have a short learning curve and can take on the product, and they can just focus on what exactly they are doing instead of trying to learn the product itself. So in the web UI installation, it actually used by the Oracle Universal Installer. You run the Oracle Universal Installer, it will install the GoldenGate binary. After that, you are going to use the OGGCA, another web UI tool, to start the GoldenGate configuration. So this is very much like the Oracle database configuration, right? You run the Oracle Universal Installer, and then you run the database configure admin assistant to help you to configure database. So here is a couple of screenshots of the Oracle Universal Installer, which been used to install GoldenGate, and you can see it's very similar to the database installation user interface, right? So it will ask you what you want to install and where you want it to be installed, and then where to create the inventory, and then at last it will give you a summary of what your choices are, and then you can also generate a response file if you want. We can just in the future, we can just run this installer without any web UI, just use the response file. So this is what it looked like after it's installed. Then it will ask you to run a script as the root to create all this Oracle inventory. But you do not have to do that. You can skip that as well if you decide to maintain your own Oracle inventory. So once this is installed, then you have the GoldenGate binary files on this particular directory you specified, right? So this is where the binary is. So after you get the binary in there, then you have to run the OGGCA, which is a configuration assistant script. And I have a small video to show you how to run that, right? So you change. First of all, you have to cd to the directory where the GoldenGate binaries are, and there's a bin directory. Inside the bin directory, there's OGGCA script, which you just started up. It will start the web UI interface to go through to ask you what you want to do. So in our case, we want to create a new service manager, right? You have to tell it where the service manager's home is, and to tell which port. This is the TCP IP port the service manager is going to listen to. And then it's going to check the system to make sure the port is available, the host name is configured correctly, and all the GoldenGate software is there. Then it will give you a choice to add a new GoldenGate deployment. So you have specify what's the new deployment's name. So it will be use that name to create the deployment and to keep the software home unchanged. That's where the binaries are. And then you have to tell it where the deployment are going to be created. So after that, you have to add in some environmental variables like TNS admin, which you put in the SQLnet and the TNS names files for the future database connection. This can be anywhere. And then you have to create the user ID and the password for the admin user for the GoldenGate deployment. So this is what I talked about earlier, our own internal user authentication system to see who can log into the GoldenGate system. And every deployment can have their own set of the user ID and password. Then after that, it will ask you the do you want to install a secure deployment or you do a non-secure deployment, but you want to use the client, have a certificate to send the data to the another secure deployment. So in this particular example, we're doing the non-secured, but the client will have a particular certificate, so it still can use SSL when talk to a secured deployment. So once you supply all the certificate, they will continue to ask you about all the ports this deployment services are going to be running on. So once you put in the ports, it will automatically populate the other ports for all the other services. And then it will ask you about the default GoldenGate schema name, which is backward compatible. And this is pretty much all. You can do the finish, and then it will start doing all this the work in the background. The same thing, you do have a choice to save the response file. So next time you can just add the response file, and then it will be able to do a silent installation without the web UI. So once you get all the installations done, you can see the service manager is actually up and running in this service manager. And also all the services for the deployment we just created is also are up and running. So those are the 4 services, admin server and distribution server, performance monitor server, and the receiver server. So now you can access to the GoldenGate web UI on this system because it's already up running. So you go to the port 9000, that is the service manager's port, and then you will see you use the GoldenGate user ID and the password, the admin user ID password login. You will see all the GoldenGate services running in there. And this is one deployment that we created. So that pretty much covers the OGGCA, how you use that script to configure and to start your first GoldenGate deployment. So once the deployment is started, you can actually go to log in to the web UI interface. Like I just said, this is the service manager interface you logged in. Once you use that admin user ID login, you can see the deployment, and then you have to log into the admin server, right? Because the deployment have an admin server. Use the same user ID and password to log into the admin server, and it will give you the web UI access to the admin server to allow you to add extract, add a replicate. And so for this one in particular, we already have extract running. So you can use the web UI to check the detail of the extract and see the checkpoint information and to see the statistics, how much data it captured. And also they check the cache manager statistics, how much memory they use to queue up the big transactions, and what's you put in the parameter file, and also the report file. Those are all the things you can then down and can be done on the web UI without logging into that GoldenGate server. And those are very popular tasks you can use. At the same time, you can check the performance metric service, and also it can list out all the major component or process, what their current status, the memory usage, the disk usage, CPU usage, all in the real-time chart, and you can monitor that. And also you can check on the statistics and the configurations, and also the trail file, how much data is written, and the database statistics, cache statistics, and even boundary recovery for the extract, you can check on that as well. And the receiver server, as I mentioned earlier, it is a corresponding to distribution server, so shows you all the distribution paths we created currently are running. So that basically gives you all the information you need to monitor or configure GoldenGate when you access this web UI. And this is where you can connect to the database in the admin server once you configure the alias to connect to the database. And also here is the administrator menu that you to create new users. And so this is the overall and menu which you can actually see all the critical messages or error messages in this particular GoldenGate deployment. So this is how the user interface being used, and then can navigate through different components. And the most important thing is in this version 21.3, we have unified homepage. So from one homepage, you can access all these 4 different services without have to going back to the service manager to click those 4 services one by one. So right now on one page, you have all these links. And plus, we added another very useful feature in the 21.3 for the simplified certificate management. Before, in old GoldenGate versions, if you have to manage the certificate, you have to run the or a PKI to manipulate the wallet, which is not very user-friendly. And also, it's very easy to make a mistake. If you mess up the wallet, then the GoldenGate the SSL will not work anymore. So right now, you can use the web UI interface to view the certificate, to replace the server certificate, to add a multiple client certificate or add a CA certificate. And right now, we actually totally disabled the wallet manipulation. So we do not recommend the user to deal with the wallet anymore. And also the distribution path can choose multiple client certificate if you are using the certificate authentication method. And this is what it looks like on this web UI interface. The certificate management, on the client certificate section, you can actually add in multiple client certificate, but normally you only have one. This is certificate used when you start talking to another GoldenGate deployment. This is the certificate you use to identify yourself. And then you have the CA certificates. Those are all trusted certificate or the root certificate of the other server-side certificate. So once you have the trusted certificate added in here, you can trust the certificate sent by the other side, which is the server side. You can do the certificate delete or add or replacement all from this web UI interface. So this basically allows you to manage all these things from the web UI without the manipulate directly on the wallet. So those are all the files where they are for the GoldenGate like wallet, report file, trail files, if you do want to dig a little bit more to access all these files under the hood or how they work. There's also some references I put here and which can share with you later on all the user reference guide for GoldenGate microservice architecture and GoldenGate installation. So that's pretty much concluded the web UI interface introduction. And the next section is talking about the trail replication. We send a trail from one GoldenGate employment to another GoldenGate deployment. So this is basically what I call a bridge between different GoldenGate deployments. So if you look at a GoldenGate, the typical standalone GoldenGate, you are having GoldenGate extract running inside the microservice architecture. You have GoldenGate replicate running inside this, and they are both doing the remote capture, remote delivery. There's no need to send any trail data out because everything is running in the same instance, right? So we support Oracle database 11G all the way to 21c. And to access the database, we only need the SQLnet connection. So this is a very vanilla basic GoldenGate deployment, which does not allow you to, does not need to send any data out. But what if you have two GoldenGate deployment, right? You have the GoldenGate deployment on one system, and on another system you have another deployment. If you want to send the data from the source GoldenGate to the target GoldenGate, then you will need to use the distribution service to create a distribution path to send the data. The most popular configuration for that is on your target system, you are running a Nginx, which is a reverse proxy server, and only expose one port to the external world. So your source GoldenGate, the distribution server is going to talk to the Nginx, and the communication between the Nginx and the distribution server is SSL enabled. But the SSL is terminated at Nginx, and the Nginx goes pass the data to the receiver server, and the receiver server will pass the data, like write data in the trail file, and then Replica is going to pick them up and push them to the target database. So for this distribution path, we're using the WSSS, which is the encrypted protocol. And also we are using the target system user ID and password to authenticate to make sure this distribution path can log in to this target to send the data. And the Nginx, as I said, is just terminate the SSL. And we double check that when we establish this SSL connection, we'll double check the certificate CN name the Nginx is using as a server certificate. The CN name will match exactly what this server name is, or at least the there's a SAN name will match the server name. So we know this is when we connect to the server, we know the server claims who they are. We can verify that. And the alias for the authentication is also needed to make sure it can connect into the targets. So those are like double safety rules we put on there before we can establish this connection and start to sending data. So this is a GoldenGate trail transportation between two microservices architectures. And then if you do have a classic architecture, you can still send the data to GoldenGate microservices. Instead, using the distribution path in your classic architecture, you're basically using a remote host and a port number and send the port, put a port directly to the port where your receiver server is listening to. So this will allow the classic architecture to send the data to the microservice architecture. But since the classic architecture does not support SSL, we highly recommend you to encrypt the trail file on your disk first before you push them through the network. So that way, if this network is not through the security link, all the data will be encrypted. Otherwise, if these both architectures are sitting inside your local area network, then you don't have to worry about the encryption. And the same thing, if you do not have a dedicated connection, you can actually use the socket proxy tunnel to facilitate the connection from the pump extract to the receiver server. This way, you rely on the SSH to encrypt your trail and then to send the trail file to the GoldenGate microservice architecture. And this is a feature we added for the classic architecture a long time ago, and then it's still working when you try to send data from classic to the microservice architecture. So that concludes the content on the distribution path, how you share the data between different GoldenGate deployments. So the next topic will be the admin client and the REST API. As I mentioned before, the admin client and REST API are really liked by the old timers or by those GoldenGate system admin. They really do not care about web UI, but they want to keep doing things in the old way to do the command line interface. So the GGSCI has been dropped from microservice architecture, but we added the admin client, and both are command line interface, and almost all the GGSCI commands can be run in the admin client. Okay, so this is a backward compatible we have done for the GoldenGate admins, so they don't have to learn a set of new commands. Instead, if they really knew the GGSCI command, they can use that in the admin client. But admin client actually added more security features in the implementation. It has the user authentication, as I mentioned before, so you can define different users, and we have different roles, so have different level for the user, what kind of tasks they can perform. It also can run remotely to connect to any GoldenGate microservice architecture. So you don't have to always access the system where GoldenGate installed. It's almost like a SQL Plus, right? So you install the admin client on any machine, as long as you have TCP/IP connection to the GoldenGate server, you will be able to connect to your GoldenGate deployment. And it supports the Linux-style command history and recall instead of a very cumbersome, FC command in the GGSCI. So all the Linux system admins, they can, feel free to explore, to recall the old command to run those GoldenGate commands. This is some example of how you run the admin client. You start the admin client first, and then you use the connect command to tell it where you want to connect. So in this particular example, it's connecting to a local host, right? It's GoldenGate running locally on port 443. So this is basically a Nginx reverse proxies port, and the login as the OGG admin. And the exclamation mark basically say, do not check the certificate, because I'm using a self-send certificate to set up the environment. So once it connect to that, it will ask you the password for the OGG admin, and then you put a password in, and then it tells you, okay, so because there's only one deployment in here, I'm going to use this deployment as my default deployment. And then you can see when you issue the info all command, it's almost like the GGSCI, right? But in addition to the extract replicator, we actually also shows you in this particular deployment how the 4 basic services are running, whether they are running or they are stopped. So those are the information it gives to you. It's purely command interface. So here, if you do not run that locally on the system, you can run in any other system, as long as you specify the right host name and the port, it will be able to connect. And this is a typical example of doing the info extract detail. You can see the output is exactly like the output of the GGSCI info extract detail command. It shows you the extract checkpoint information, the extracts, read the checkpoint, the trail the right checkpoint, and where the report files are, the checkpoint files and the parameter files, and its start and end time. So those are all the information you can get from the info detail command. And also we have the REST API. So when you do the REST API, it can be called from anywhere. Again, the rule is as long as you can reach the GoldenGate deployment through TCP/IP, you can run any REST API to talk to the GoldenGate deployment. And it supports any REST API client. You can do the curl or Postman. The Postman is a very useful tool. You can just keep playing with that, and it will test out the right syntax, the right result, and then you can add that into the script. And it can also embed it from a lot of other scripts like shell script, Java, Python, and even the SQL script. We do have the SQL Plus. You can run the GoldenGate, the REST APIs. the support methods is a very popular methods like other major REST API. We support all these operations. Then I'm going to show you example of how I can run this REST API. Like this is the endpoint I'm going to post, and its operation is a post to basically create extract, right? And the body of the REST API shows, first of all, the credential is where the database login, user ID and the password, where they store the domain name and alias. So I do not need to expose the real user ID and the password in this REST API. I just need to refer to the alias. It will pull out the user ID and password in the background. And this is how I created the unidirection extract and the begin now. And it's the Translog formatted integrated. And just FYI, so starting in 21.3, we only support the integrated extract. The classic extract is deprecated. So if you're still running the classic extract, for example, in the GoldenGate version 19, please make sure you upgrade to the integrated extract before you patch or upgrade to GoldenGate version 21. And this, the next section is the registration part, and to tell which container your extract is captured from, and then the targets where it is. Basically, the target is the trail file, and under the config section is the extract parameter file. So those are all in the body, which you can send in this post operation to the endpoint. And the endpoint you can see here is clearly shows it's talking to the admin server. That's why I say the admin server is a very basic, important service running. So all your basic GoldenGate tasks, like create anything, delete anything, stop, all is done through the admin server. So once it gets sent out, you will see it will just send the response back and then tell you the extract is created. So this is a typical curl command to talk to the GoldenGate endpoint, right? So first of all, you do the say cert. This is tell it, because I'm using a self-signed certificate. So you have to tell it, no, I don't just accept this self-signed certificate as trusted certificate. And then the -k access.config. This is actually a config file, which is a text file, have all the user ID and the password in there. So you don't expose your GoldenGate user ID password in the command line. Otherwise, someone, when they look for the history of your command, will be able to see the user ID password, right? Or you can also use a save the cache to save the user ID password as well. Then you have to specify the endpoint. For this particular one, the endpoint is the MP points to monitor all the processes. So the action is a get operation. And then I want to beautify that with the Python JSON tool. So I can, because the result coming back is all in a JSON format, right? So it will be easier for us to read. And this is what it looked like when it comes back. So it basically shows you all the performance, the server, what it pulled out from this particular GoldenGate deployment. There's admin server, there's distribution server, PM server, receiver server, and when they started, and also the port they are using. Those are all the basic information the performance monitor service is going to tell you in the REST API. So you can see this is really helpful if you want to program this and embed this into your script to automate the GoldenGate management and the configuration. So that concludes the section about the client interface, the REST API. So the last section I'm going to cover here is the Docker implementation. Basically, the Docker implementation is very popular nowadays because it's so easy to deploy that in a cloud environment. So to do the, especially for the system admins, right? So you can build a Docker image and then you just deploy it anywhere you want and create your the container. The Docker really pulls all the necessary files for you instead of you doing the installation from scratch. If you think about old days, when you install GoldenGate, you have to install the client library, right? First you have the operating system should be ready, install the client library, and then install the GoldenGate binary, and then you have to configure everything. The Docker actually saved the first 3 steps. You don't have to do any OS, the client library, and you just need to build your Docker image. So it has a very smaller footprint compared with the VM solution. The Docker container is running inside your OS. It's not a highly isolated VM instance, right? So you can say the Docker can use up to how much memory, but it will not use all this memory at once, not like the VirtualBox. You give the memory, give the CPU, give the disk drive, and then it will just grab all the resource immediately. So another useful feature of the Docker is you can actually map a local volume into a Docker container. So basically, you can have the Docker itself in the image only have the binary files, and then the container, everything's using the local file system, the volumes. And also, another advantage of the container is with GoldenGate 21.3, it actually comes with the client already pre-installed, and that client library can deal all the way from Oracle 11.204 up to Oracle 21c. So that's the basically the advantage of using Docker. Basically, just to simplify your GoldenGate creation and give you easy access to a already installed configured GoldenGate. So how to get the Docker image? So first of all, we do not at this moment, we do not provide a Docker image. What we provide is a Docker build files. So you can go to the Oracle's GitHub to pull that build file from this particular link. And then once you put it down, you also have to download the GoldenGate installation files. So with these 2 files ready, you can basically run the Docker build command to tell it what kind of GoldenGate you want to build, basically give the image a tag, and then you have some build arguments you have to pass, like the particular installer, where the installer file is. That's the file you pull down from the OTN download side. And then it will send the build context to the Docker daemon, and it will start to build the Docker container using this particular download file. So once everything's built successfully, you will see it will have this image ready, have this particular tag. And then you can check the image. You will see in your Docker repository, you will be able to see this particular Docker image. So at this step, the image is built, is ready to run. Then the next thing is you're going to run the Docker container starting using this particular image. So there are a lot of parameters allow you to specify in the Docker run command. First one is name. You want to give a name to this container, right? And then the port, because we are using the Nginx by default in this Docker container. So you need to tell Nginx which port it's listening to. So we normally let it listen to port 443, right? Because that's the default, the HTTPS port it's the Nginx is listening to. And then you can specify the GoldenGate admin user ID and the password, what the user ID and password is. And then you have to specify the GoldenGate deployment name. And then you have to specify where you want to mount this volume. The /U02 basically is the GoldenGate deployment volume. So all your GoldenGate deployment will be mounted to this volume. You can actually map this volume to your host mount point. And the /U03 is all the temporary directory, which you can create it. And for host the GoldenGate cache manager file, GoldenGate temporary file, again, the same thing, you can mount that to your host mount point as well. And then the GoldenGate certificate, actually these certificates use the Nginx. So you have to create the Nginx certificate ahead of time, and then to tell the container, hey, the certificate is actually at here, this mount point. And then this is the image name. Of course, you can also run it as a detached, and all the other options are supported as well. So by doing all this, the Docker container will be started up. And here you can see it's actually come up and running. You do a Docker PS, you can see the Docker container is already up and running here. And in the -p parameter, we're mapping the containers 443 port to the host local 3443 port. So which means you can access this particular Docker container of GoldenGate implementation using the port 3443. So that's actually allow you to start the Docker container. So once you have the image, you can start multiple containers, as many as you want, as many as your system can handle, right? And then once the container is up and running, and this is how you attach to the container and try to run the admin client. So you first use the Docker exect-it command to attach to this particular Docker container and tell to start a bash. Once you start bash, you are in as root. You have to sudo to OGG user, because that is where the GoldenGate is actually running. And then you can cd to the U01 OGG bin directory and start the admin client. And then you are inside the admin client. You can connect to the GoldenGate from there. So once you're inside that, you can connect to the localhost 443, use the GoldenGate admin user ID and give the password, and then list out what's in this particular GoldenGate environment. So that's just very simple steps to show you how we build the Docker image, how we start a Docker container from image, and then how we access the container to run the GoldenGate utilities. Those are very high-level steps, but you can certainly just start from there to explore all the other features using the Docker container to run GoldenGate. So that's concluded the Docker section part, and that's all of my today's presentation. And thanks everyone for your attention and your time. And if you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to share with me. My name is Warner He, and I am the product manager of the Oracle GoldenGate. Thank you.